Hello again, and welcome to, I think it's video clip number 18. I promised myself I'm going to go a little bit slower this time because, well, YouTube now allows me 20 minutes or something per clip. So I'm just going to try and take it a bit easier, not rush through all the questions. Right, starting with Chris W. You've probably answered this somewhere, so feel free to ignore. But what's up with the departure, and he's talking about the hardback, not the ebook, not being available published in the USA? Is it going the way of the line of polity? And then he goes on, still annoys me that when I look at my Asher shelf that there is no line of polity hardback. Bloody publishers. Well, the thing is, well, there's never been a hardback of the line of polity in England or anywhere, so you'd never get that. As far as my books being published in the USA is concerned, best thing for fans to do is go through the book depository and get them from England, because that's free shipping. But I think Tor US, the last book of mine that they published was Brassman, and since then they've stopped, so obviously I'm not selling well enough over there or something like that. I don't know which. What. Next question. I want to roll a fag as well. Space Opera Ghost. Will you ever expand on the story of the Quiet War? Well, that's like an awful lot of things in the polity future history, if you like. I might do. I might do short stories on it. I might do a novella on it. I might do a novel on it. I don't know. It's always whatever takes my interest. I'm in the, I guess, the enviable position where I can just choose whatever I want to write. Best answer I can give, I'm afraid. Taylor Preston. When you write, do you revise, edit as you go, or do you just hammer out the first draft before you put pen to paper and start making changes? I know you've said before that you don't normally outline, so I was wondering how much revision you end up doing and how you go about it. Okay. I've found out just recently, now I'm writing in a hardback journal again, trying to do a page a day, just how unfamiliar I've become with using a pen. I write a page or so and my hand starts to ache. Most of my writing is done on the keyboard now, so when I start on a book I'll have a few vague ideas. I might even have an ending, and then I just start typing. In a day, well, I've said all this before, but in a day I like to try to do about 2,000 words, and I try to do 2,000 words 5 days a week when I'm working on a book, when it's not finished. On the next day I will reread the 2,000 words that I wrote on the previous day and do some editing there, and then I write the next 2,000. As I go on through the book and as the story develops, I will frequently have to go back to previous pieces I've written. So I'm on chapter 8, I might have to go back to chapter 2 and change something, delete something, add something, whatever. So I'm perpetually going back and editing it as I write it. Got a question? making changes. I then finish the book. I will know when it's finished as I write it, I mean, obviously. So up to this point, I have been making lots and lots of changes and doing lots and lots of editing. I then put the book to one side, just as I have done recently with Jupiter War. This is so I can try to forget a lot of it. The problem with reading stuff that you've written, quite often you end up reading what's in here rather than what's on the screen. So I reread it and look for glaring errors, make alteration, cut out pieces that I think might be getting a bit too boring, add bits that I feel is unnecessary, and I make those alterations first on the screen. I then print off a copy and give it to other people to read. Caroline reads through it to pick up on things. And then I work through it backwards, a paragraph at a time, to try and pick up errors. But I suppose I do sort of hammer through the first draft, but I'm editing it all the time. It's not like I just write without looking back. I think that answers your question. Right. Juan, or Huan, asks, what size are Amistad and Sniper? I'm pretty sure I must have... Oh, bollocks. I'm pretty sure I must have given the size of Sniper at some point in one of the books. I think his shell was something like 3 meters across. This is the second version of Sniper, who was in the Nautilus shell. Amistad, I visualise him as being, the size of a car, if you like. Probably 4 or 5 meters long from claws to tail. That's that. ARJ209 asked me, have you reached the lofty heights of stardom of being recognised in the streets? Ho, ho, ho. No, I haven't. I'm sure if I turned up at a science fiction convention or something like that, then I would be recognised. But science fiction is a pretty small world, so no. I have never yet been recognised on the streets. I mean, I would add to that, I've never actually, never yet seen a total stranger sitting reading one of my books, which is something I would like to see. Friezo asks, your Wikipedia article mentions Runcible is a homage to Ansible. Is that how you intended it? Well, thinking about it now, I don't think so. First off, I wanted a matter transmitter to zip people from world to world. The name just surfaced and I just wrote it down, as I often do when I'm writing a name. I want a name for something, I write it down and I use that name and just carry on, thinking I can change it later. Then very often what happens is it grows into the role, if you see what I mean. So Runcible was just grabbed out of the air. But it wouldn't surprise me if it's surfaced somehow from my subconscious in connection to Ansible. It's only later, actually getting the science fiction newsletter Ansible, that I realised the connection. So it's connected to Ansible almost certainly, somehow in my mind, but I didn't choose it because of that. Says Phi. In an interview, you talked about your next polity book possibly being called Pennyroyal. Can you already tell something about the content, pretty please, and when it will be released approximately? Are you already working on it, or is it just an idea for the time being? Well, if anybody's been reading my blog, they will know that I am working on it now. I've just passed the 30,000 word mark on Pennyroyal, and I suspect that it's actually going to grow into more than one book. This is because, as I've said on the blog, I started writing the backstory for what I saw as the main show, and what's happened is the backstory is growing in the telling. So it might be that it might end up as a trilogy of 5 books or something like that. What can I tell you about it? It's got Pennyroyal in it. It's got hooders in it. Quite possibly a lot of people are going to get killed, and there's going to be a lot of action and explosions and a lot of weird shit. So, yep, I've told you about it now. That'll have to do. Chris H quotes me. He says, I said rather, I'm finding the writing ridiculously easy, which is worrying. And Chris H asks, I'm puzzled. Why worrying? One of the dangers, and all of you probably can think of examples of it, I've seen in writers who have published a number of books, is a tendency to lapse into book bloat and waffle. Well, I won't say any examples. I'm sure you can think of them yourselves. And I don't want to fall into that trap. And when the writing is coming out really easy and I'm producing lots of it and so on, I perpetually questioning myself whether it's any good, whether this is just a big load of waffle. Could take the other view that I shouldn't worry too much about it, in that having written so much for so long, well, of course it's going to get easier because I'm more practiced at it. Okay. Phil M. As you had said earlier, you are well ahead with your writing. So is it the publisher that limits you to 1 book per year, discounting any you self-publish on Amazon? I'm sure that if I actually turned around to the publisher and said, "Oh, could you speed up the publishing schedule and publish one of my books every 6 months, 8 months," they would probably oblige. If I wished to turn out more than 1 book a year, I mean, I could self-publish, and I could also go to other publishers. I mean, that's not a problem. But do I want to? I know you want me to, but 1 book a year with a lot of time spent on it is a better thing. I think it will be a better book, but also it's do I want to spend 80% of my waking life just sitting at a computer typing? The answer to that is no, I don't. So no, it's not the publisher limiting me, it's me limiting me, because I haven't pursued it and I don't want to. Okay. Okay, next one. Conan the Librarian, trademark, TM. You have a wonderful mental playground with the Polity universe. Will you invite others to play in it? Uh, Certainly, if they're making games or films and things like that. But other people writing in it, not so much. Uh, I'm of the view that, like, if you're a writer and if you like writing science fiction, then write your own stuff. Um, it's a bit, I don't know. Use your own brain, use your own imagination, write your own stuff. But yeah, games, films, fine. Get on with it. Right, Jan Harold. You may have said something about this before, but I can't remember, so I ask again. I ask: is there any link between the Owner universe and the Polity universe? Like, are the Owner books very early prequels to the Polity, or are they totally separate? I was thinking maybe there is some Owner left in Cormac. I don't quite understand that, but no, they're totally separate. There is no connection. Separate. They're a little bit further down the probability slope than the Polity universe, if you like. Or rather, the Polity universe is farther down the probability slope. Just like Cow is a separate universe. Roban. The existence of the Alpha class dreadnoughts and the fact that they are referenced but never central to the current Polity books indicate that the Polity considers there to be a potential threat well beyond those described in the current books. What is on the other side of the galaxy? Will future books explore way beyond the line? Might do. You never know. I mean, you don't actually know what kind of ships are around the accretion disk in which Jane technology has blossomed. There might well be Alpha class dreadnoughts there. Or it could just be that, oh, I don't know. Maybe they're static target, they're two big targets and just a few of them were made. Or you just don't see them because obviously nobody wants them orbiting any worlds. Yeah. Maybe another threat will come which will require them. Maybe from another galaxy. Friezo, again I think. Yeah. In Hilldiggers, the Brumalians are referred to as Fraser Welders at some point. Is that an earlier name for them which you decided to change? Yes. I think it's one of the, if you don't spot these things, it's one of the problems with find and replace on your you know, in Word. I mean, you spelt it Fraser Weldlers. Now, I don't know if you've taken that straight out of the book, spelt like that, but if, for example, I spelt Fraser Welders with a S most of the way through the book, and then on one occasion spelt it with a Z, if I did find and replace with Fraser Welders with the main one, then I would miss the one I made a mistake on, which is probably the case here. It's annoying that such a large word like that has been missed, but it happens, I'm afraid. And whether I can change it now, I doubt. Next one. A long one from Laszlo. This is relating to your worrying as it's getting ridiculously easy comment. One of the reviews I've read about the departure, while positive, said it's the same old Asher. Right now, every once in a while I hear a tune on radio, and I can guess from a few chord changes that that's got to be U2 or Coldplay, even if I've heard it before. Just like reading Stephen King or Richard Morgan, very distinctive prose and style, but book after the book, the same in a sense. Do you ever plan to change up your style a bit, or try to step outside of yourself? Is it even possible? Or is it something inherently part of the way our brains work, and what comes out will always be recognisable, as good as it is as an Asher? I do try to change things. I moved to present tense with Orbis. Generally, the earlier books were all third person, but in some of the later books I've been using first person a bit more. I mean, Hildegard's is an example that's got first person in there. Yes, I do try to change some things, but yeah, it will always be me. That's the thing. Always be my way of describing things, my way of seeing things. So to actually change the writing, I think you have to change the author. One last one here. This is from Dirk Ruhl. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. On Google Plus, a place with tumbleweeds rolling through it. He asks, how much influence do you have on the covers used for your books? Well, I see the initial pictures of a cover, which is sent to me to comment on, which I do. Sometimes there are just errors which don't actually relate to the book, so I try to nail them if I can. Quite often, John Sullivan will ask me to select pieces of the book for him to work with. Select out, like, oh, can you select me out a battle scene with this, these sorts of things in it, and so on, which I will send him and he'll work on. So there is a bit of input. I generally leave it to them because they've done pretty damn good so far. And that's it. That's the end of the questions. Now, how long was that? Oh, that's about 20 minutes. Okay. See you soon.